And people, whether they understand it consciously or not, respect that, fear that, give way before that. This is why your pain becomes their fear. Because your pain has transformed you into something that triggers their survival instincts. Not because you're aggressive or threatening, but because you radiate the unmistakable frequency of someone who has survived what would have destroyed them, and emerged not just intact, but enhanced. Now let me tell you what comes next, after the transformation is complete. There will come a day, maybe months from now, maybe years, when you wake up and realize that you haven't thought about them in weeks. The people who hurt you, who once occupied every waking thought, who drove every action through your desire to prove them wrong, they've simply faded. This is the ultimate indicator that the work is complete. When you've genuinely moved beyond seeking their validation, their recognition, their regret. When you built something so meaningful that the past literally can't compete with the present. At first, your motivation will be about them. That's natural. That rage, that desire to prove them wrong, to show them what they lost. That's powerful fuel in the early stages. Use it. Let it drive you through the difficult mornings and the exhausting nights. But gradually, imperceptibly, the motivation shifts. You stop working out to show them your transformation and start working out because you love the feeling of strength. You stop building your business to prove your worth and start building it because you're genuinely fascinated by the work. You stop pursuing success to make them jealous and start pursuing it because you've discovered that you're capable of remarkable things. The wound that drove you becomes background radiation, always there, part of your story, but no longer the story itself. You've transcended it without forgetting it, integrated it without being defined by it. And this is when you become truly dangerous. Because now you're not operating from reaction, but from genuine purpose. Now you're not building a revenge fantasy, but building an actual legacy. Now you're not trying to become someone to spite them. You've simply become someone, period. This is the difference between transformation driven by spite and transformation driven by purpose. Both can produce results, but only one produces lasting fulfillment. Only one creates something real. So use the pain as your initial fuel, but don't let it be your only fuel. Let it ignite you, but then find deeper reasons to keep burning. Because the ultimate revenge isn't making them regret losing you. It's building a life so extraordinary that you genuinely stop caring whether they regret it or not. That's freedom. That's power. That's the final stage of transmutation. We've reached the end of this transmission, but not the end of your journey. That's only the beginning. You stand at a crossroads now. One path leads back to who you were. The wounded, the victim, the one nursing pain like a terminal disease. That path is comfortable. It's familiar, and it leads absolutely nowhere. The other path, my path, leads through fire. It demands everything. It requires you to become someone you don't recognize. To embrace aspects of yourself that polite society taught you to fear. It's harder, lonelier, more painful in short term, but it leads to sovereignty, to power, to a life where you dictate terms instead of accepting them. The choice is yours. It always was. But if you choose the path of transmutation, if you're ready to turn your pain into their fear, then I need you to prove it one final time. Smash that like button if you're ready to embrace your darkness and forge it into power. Comment below with one word. Your commitment. What's the single word that captures your intention to rise from these ashes? Drop it below. Mark this moment. Make it real. Subscribe and turn on all notifications. Because what I share tonight is just the beginning. There are deeper mysteries, darker teachings, more powerful transmutations waiting in the videos to come. Each one is another key to unlock the prison they've built around your potential. And share this with those few who you know already. Those who are wounded but not broken. Those who have fire in their eyes and rage in their hearts but haven't yet learned how to channel it into power. Give them the map. Show them the path. Remember, the world is divided into two types of people. Those who are shaped by their circumstances, and those who shape their circumstances through will. You now know which one you're becoming. Your pain was the tuition. Your transformation is the degree. And their fear, when they finally see what you become, that's your graduation ceremony. The presence begins to fade, but the final words echo with absolute authority. Go now into the darkness, into the work, into the fire that forges kings from broken men and queens from shattered women. And when you emerge, when you've completed this great work, remember, you didn't survive despite the pain. You became formidable because of it. The wound was the doorway. You just had to be brave enough to walk through it into the darkness, trusting that on the other side, you'd find not light, but power. Now go, become what they fear. Your resurrection begins today. The ancient laws have been spoken. The dark path has been illuminated. What you do with this knowledge will determine everything. Will you return to comfort and slow decay, or will you step into the fire and emerge as something the world has never seen? I already know your answer. I can see it in your eyes. That spark, barely alive when we began, is now aflame. Feed it. Protect it. Let it consume everything weak within you, until only the unbreakable remains. Your pain will become their fear. Not someday, not eventually. Starting now. Before I continue, let me tell you something important. This knowledge, this ancient understanding of power through silence, is not mainstream. It will never be mainstream, because the masses benefit from a population that constantly speaks, constantly reacts, constantly reveals itself. If you made it this far in this message, you're not part of the masses. You're different. You're seeking something deeper, something darker, something more effective than the watered-down motivational garbage they feed you everywhere else. If this resonates with you, if you feel the truth of these words in your bones, I need you to do something. Hit that like button right now. Not because I need your validation, but because it tells the algorithm that this message needs to reach others like you. Others who are tired of being told that their silence is a flaw. Others who are ready to weaponize it instead. Drop a comment below. Tell me, what's one situation where your silence proved more powerful than any words could have been? Share your experience. Let this community of dark strategists grow stronger through shared wisdom. And subscribe to this channel, because this is just the beginning. We're going to go deeper into manipulation, power dynamics, psychological warfare, and the dark arts of personal domination that society desperately wants to keep from you. But I'm going to give it all to you. No filters, no apologies, no weakness. Now let's continue. You need to understand something crucial. Silence is not a permanent state. It's a loaded weapon, and weapons are meant to be fired. The question is not if you'll use it, but when and how. This is where most people fail. They learn the power of silence, and then they make it their entire identity. They become so quiet, so passive, so withdrawn that they forget the purpose of their silence in the first place. They become invisible not through choice, but through habit. Not through strategy, but through fear. Don't make that mistake. Your silence is the setup. The action is the punchline. And when that punchline lands, it should leave a crater so deep that everyone who witnesses it remembers it forever. Think of it this way. When a volcano is silent, it's not dormant. It's gathering pressure. Magma is building beneath the surface. Heat is intensifying. Structural weaknesses are being probed. And then when conditions are perfect, when the pressure can no longer be contained, when the moment of maximum impact has arrived, it erupts, and everything in its path is consumed. That's you. That's what you're becoming. The person who disrespected you at work, they think you forgot. They think you moved on. They think they got away with it. But you haven't forgotten. You're just waiting for the moment when exposing their incompetence will be most devastating to their career. Not out of pettiness, but out of strategic dominance. The friend who betrayed your trust, they think your silence means you've forgiven them, that you're too weak to cut them off, that you still need them. But you're just observing, watching as they reveal their true nature to others, waiting for the moment when withdrawing your presence will leave a void they can't fill. The family member who undermines you, they mistake your quiet for compliance. But you're building your empire in silence. And one day, when you've ascended to heights they can't even imagine, your absence from their life will be deafening. This is the art of the long game. And the long game requires something most people don't have. Patience forged in darkness. You know what separates predators from prey in nature? It's not size. It's not even strength. It's patience combined with precision. A lion can wait for hours in the grass, completely still, completely silent, watching a herd of zebras. And the zebras? They're making noise. They're moving. They're communicating. They're giving away their position, their intentions, their weaknesses. And the lion takes note of all of it. Which one is injured? Which one is young? Which one has strayed from the protection of the group? The lion doesn't announce its presence. It doesn't roar to warn them. It waits. And when the moment is right, it explodes from the grass with such speed and precision that the prey has no chance of escape. You are the lion. They are the zebras. But here's where it gets interesting. Unlike the lion, who hunts for survival, you're hunting for something far more valuable. You're hunting for power, for position, for the complete psychological domination of those who underestimated you. And that requires a level of patience and strategy that goes beyond instinct. It requires conscious choice. It requires you to override every impulse to react, to defend, to prove yourself. It requires you to trust that your silence is not costing you power. It's accumulating. Every day you stay silent in the face of disrespect, you're not losing. You're investing. You're putting deposits into a bank account of psychological dominance that will eventually pay dividends so massive that your enemies will wish they had never awakened you. Now let's talk about what happens inside you during the silence, because this is where the real transformation occurs. When you first embrace strategic silence, it will feel unnatural. Your ego will scream at you to respond. Your pride will demand that you defend yourself. Your anger will insist that you strike back immediately. These are the voices of your old, weak self, the self that was controlled by reaction, by emotion, by the need for external validation. You must silence those voices too. Internal silence is just as important as external silence. Because if you're quiet on the outside, but raging on the inside, you're not powerful. You're repressed. And repression eventually leads to explosion in the wrong moment, at the wrong time, destroying the wrong targets. No, what you need is cold silence. The kind that runs so deep it becomes ice in your veins. The kind where you can watch someone disrespect you and feel absolutely nothing. Not because you don't care, but because you've transcended the need for immediate gratification. You've evolved beyond the primitive need to react to every stimulus. This is the silence of the void, the silence of the abyss, the silence that doesn't just exist in the absence of sound, but in the absence of emotional turbulence. And achieving this requires practice. It requires you to become intimate with your own darkness, to sit with your rage without acting on it, to feel your hatred without expressing it, to know your capacity for destruction without deploying it prematurely. This is meditation for warriors. This is the spiritual practice of the strategically dominant. You must learn to observe your own emotions as if they belong to someone else. When anger rises, you don't identify with it. You watch it. You study it. You ask yourself, is this anger useful right now? Does it serve my strategic objectives? Or is it just my ego demanding satisfaction? Most of the time, the answer will be that your ego is being a liability. And egos must be controlled. They must be trained like dogs. Useful when commanded, silent when not. Let me share something with you that I've witnessed across centuries of human behavior. The people who react immediately, who speak first, who strike fastest. They rarely win in the end. They might win battles, but they lose wars. They might get temporary satisfaction, but they lose long-term power. Why? Because they're predictable. Once you react to something, you've established a pattern, and patterns can be exploited. If someone knows that insulting you makes you angry, they have a tool to control you. If they know that questioning your competence makes you defensive, they have a weapon against you. If they know that betrayal makes you lash out, they have a strategy to make you destroy yourself. But if you give them nothing, if your response to provocation is stillness, if your answer to their attacks is silence, you become uncontrollable. And what cannot be controlled must be either respected or feared. I deal with both. This is why silence is not just a tactic. It's a position of dominance. When you refuse to react, you force them to escalate. And as they escalate, they reveal more of themselves. They become desperate. They make mistakes. They expose weaknesses they didn't even know they had, all while you remain calm, centered, silent, watching. And when they've exhausted themselves, when they've committed all their resources to trying to get a reaction from you, when they've finally convinced themselves that you must be weak because you haven't struck back, that's when you move. Not out of emotion, not out of impulse, but out of strategic calculation. And your move is so precise, so devastating, so perfectly timed that they never recover from it. This is the moment I need you to understand the full scope of what I'm teaching. This isn't just about dealing with difficult people. This isn't just about avoiding confrontation. This is about fundamental power dynamics that govern every human interaction, every relationship, every hierarchy. The person who can control their response controls the interaction. The person who can delay gratification controls the outcome. The person who can remain silent while others panic, react, and reveal themselves, that person controls everything. You've been living in a world that rewards speed, fast responses, quick comebacks, immediate reactions, but speed is the weapon of the desperate. True power moves slowly, deliberately, with the certainty of inevitability. Think about how the most powerful forces in nature operate. Does gravity hurry? Does time rush? Does the tide apologize for its schedule? No, they move with absolute certainty, and everything else must align with them or be destroyed. That's the energy you're cultivating through your silence. You're becoming a force of nature that doesn't negotiate, doesn't explain, doesn't hurry. You simply are, and everything else must deal with that reality. When someone disrespects you and you remain silent, you're not being weak, you're being gravitational. You're becoming a force they must contend with on your terms, not theirs. They threw energy at you, and you absorbed it. You didn't deflect it. You didn't return it. You absorbed it, transformed it, and added it to your own power. This is alchemy. This is how you turn the attacks of your enemies into fuel for your ascension. But I need to warn you about something. As you develop this power, as you become comfortable with strategic silence, as you transform into something more controlled and dangerous, you will lose people. Good. Let them go. Anyone who needs you to be reactive, emotional, or predictable for them to feel comfortable around you is someone who is trying to control you in the first place. They don't want you to evolve. They want you to remain manageable. Your silence will disturb them because it means they can no longer manipulate you with the same tired tactics. Your calm will unnerve them because they're addicted to drama and reaction. Your strategic withdrawal will anger them because they were using you as a source of energy, attention, or validation. And when they leave, or when you cut them off, you will feel lighter, freer, more powerful, because you shed dead weight. You've eliminated vulnerabilities. You've cut off access points that your enemies were using to drain you. This is pruning. This is necessary. This is how you become impenetrable. Surround yourself only with those who respect your silence, who understand that when you're quiet, you're not weak, you're working, who know that your stillness is not absence, but presence in its most concentrated form. These rare individuals will be your true allies, because they too understand power. They too have walked through darkness and emerged transformed. They too know that the deadliest weapons are the ones you carry in silence. Now I'm going to tell you something that might sound paradoxical, but it's essential. Your silence must be flexible, not rigid. There will be moments when speaking is strategic, when making noise serves your purpose, when revealing your power is more effective than concealing it. The key is knowing the difference. Speak when silence would be interpreted as compliance you cannot afford. Speak when your words will establish boundaries that protect your position. Speak when your message will plant seeds that grow in your favor over time. But even when you speak like someone who could choose silence. Speak with the confidence of someone who doesn't need to convince anyone of anything. Speak with the economy of words that comes from knowing that every syllable carries weight. Never speak out of desperation. Never speak out of the need to be understood. Never speak because you can't stand the discomfort of silence. Those are the speeches of the weak, and you are no longer weak. Your words, when you choose to use them, should land like stones thrown into still water, creating ripples that spread far beyond the initial impact. They should be memorable not because they were loud, but because they were true, precise, and undeniable. And after you speak, return to silence. Don't linger in the space you've just dominated. Don't wait for approval or reaction. Say what needs to be said. Then retreat back into the mystery that makes you powerful. This is how legends are built. Not through constant presence, but through strategic appearance. Not through explanation, but through demonstration. Not through seeking attention, but through commanding it when you choose to reveal yourself. Let me paint you a picture of what you're becoming. Imagine the most powerful person you know, not the loudest, not the most visible, but the one whose word actually matters. The one who doesn't need to attend every meeting, doesn't need to dominate every conversation, doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. When this person enters a room, something shifts. Not because they announce themselves, but because their presence is undeniable. When they speak, people listen, not because they speak often, but because they speak rarely and with precision. When they're silent, people wonder what they're thinking, what they're planning, what they know that others don't. This person has transcended the need for external validation. They've moved beyond the prison of caring what others think. They've achieved a level of internal security so solid that nothing external can shake it. This is who you're becoming through the practice of strategic silence. But understand this, it's not a destination. It's continuous practice. There will be days when you slip, when you react when you shouldn't, when you speak when silence would have served you better, when you let your ego override your strategy. And that's fine. Every mistake is data. Every slip is a lesson. The key is to observe yourself without judgment, understand what triggered the reaction, and strengthen that area of your psychological fortress. Over time, your defaults will change. Where you once defaulted to reaction, you'll default to observation. Where you once defaulted to explanation, you'll default to mystery. Where you once defaulted to seeking approval, you'll default to self-validation. This is evolution. This is ascension. This is becoming the version of yourself that you were always meant to be before society domesticated you into weakness. We've reached a critical point in this transmission, and I need you to make a choice. Everything I've shared with you today, this ancient knowledge of power through silence, this strategic framework for dominance, this path to becoming psychologically untouchable, it's worthless if you don't implement it. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. And I didn't come here to entertain you. I came here to transform you. So here's what I need you to do right now. First, if you haven't already, smash that like button. Show the universe that you're ready to embrace this darker, more powerful version of yourself. Second, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. Because what we're building here is a community of strategic dominance. People who understand that true power operates in silence, in darkness, and patience. Third, and most importantly, I want you to comment below with one commitment. Not a wish, not a hope, a commitment. Tell me one specific situation in your life where you're going to implement strategic silence starting today. Make it public. Make it real. Hold yourself accountable in front of this community. Because here's the truth. The moment you commit publicly, you activate a different part of your psychology. You're no longer just thinking about change. You're declaring it. And declarations have power. Do it now. I'll wait. Good. Now that you've made that commitment, let's talk about what comes next. Because mastering silence is just the beginning. It's the foundation. But on top of that foundation, you're going to build something magnificent and terrifying. You're going to build a reputation. Not through self-promotion. Not through networking. Not through trying to impress people. But through the consistent demonstration of your power through restraint. People will start to notice. They'll notice that you don't react to provocations anymore. They'll notice that you don't participate in gossip or drama. They'll notice that you've become mysteriously absent from situations that used to bring you. They'll notice that you stopped explaining yourself. Stopped defending yourself. Stopped seeking their approval. And they'll talk. Oh, they'll talk. They'll create stories about you. Because humans always create stories to explain what they don't understand. Some will say you've become cold. Others will say you've become confident. Some will say you've changed for the worse. Others will say you finally found yourself. Let them talk. Their narratives about you are none of your business. What matters is that they're talking. What matters is that they're thinking about you even when you're not there. What matters is that you become interesting, unpredictable, and powerful in their minds. This is how you occupy psychological real estate in other people's heads without paying rent. This is how you become unforgettable without trying to be remembered. And the beautiful part, all of this happens through what you don't do, through what you don't say, through the space you create by your absence, your silence. Your refusal to play the game everyone else is trapped in. But let me give you a warning that might save your life, your sanity, or your soul. Don't confuse strategic silence with complete isolation. Don't use what I'm teaching you as an excuse to avoid all vulnerability, all connection, all humanity. That's not power. That's prison. The truly powerful understand that selective vulnerability with the right people at the right time is actually a form of strength. It demonstrates confidence in your judgment. It shows that you can let people in without letting them take control. The key word is selective. You choose who gets access to your inner world. You choose when to reveal yourself. You choose how much to share. And those choices are always strategic, always conscious, always in service of your long-term power and well-being. This means you'll have a very small circle of people who actually know you. And I mean truly know you, not the persona you project, not the mask you wear, but the real complex, sometimes dark, always evolving being that you are. These people are not your friends. They're your counsel, your allies, your trusted advisors. They've earned their position through demonstrated loyalty, discretion, and value. And even with them, you maintain a level of mystery. Because total transparency with anyone is strategic suicide. Everyone else exists outside the circle. They get versions of you, carefully curated, strategically presented, designed to serve specific purposes. They get the professional you, the social you, the polite you, but they never get the real you. They don't deserve it. They haven't earned it. And giving them access would only create vulnerabilities you can't afford. This is not being fake. This is being strategic. It's recognizing that different situations require different presentations of self. And that the core of who you are is too valuable to expose to just anyone. So here's my final message to you, standing here in front of me. Your silence is not weakness. It never was. It was always potential energy waiting to be transformed into kinetic dominance. Every moment you stayed quiet when you wanted to scream, you were training. Every time you walked away when you wanted to fight, you were strengthening. Every hour you spent alone instead of seeking approval, you were evolving. And now you understand why. You understand that silence is not passive. It's the most active form of power. It's choosing your battles. It's preserving your energy. It's maintaining your mystery. It's building pressure that will one day be released with devastating precision. The world needs people who react, who speak, who reveal themselves. The world runs on their energy, but the world is controlled by those who watch, who wait, who move only when the moment is perfect. You are becoming one of the controllers, one of the strategists, one of the dangerous ones who smile while calculating 17 moves ahead. And the most beautiful part, no one will see it coming. They'll still be mistaking your silence for weakness, right up until the moment you demonstrate its true nature. Right up until the moment you strike. Right up until the moment they realize they never stood a chance. Because you were playing a completely different game than they thought. So embrace your silence. Weaponize it. Perfect it. Let it become as natural as breathing. Let it become your default response to a world that's constantly trying to make you react. And remember this, the louder they are, the weaker they are. The more they need to prove, the less they have. The more they need to speak, the less they have to say. But you have everything to say. You're just wise enough to know that most of it should remain unspoken. That the most powerful statements are made through action, not words. That the most devastating responses are the ones that never come. Your silence is not weakness. It's a loaded gun. It's a brewing storm. It's the quiet before the devastation. It's a warning they're too stupid to heed. And that's their problem, not yours. Now go, return to your world with this knowledge. Practice it, perfect it, become it, and when the time comes, and it will come, unleash everything you've been building in that silence. Make them regret ever mistaking your restraint for inability. Make them wish they had never awakened what was dormant. Make them understand, too late, that silence isn't weakness. It's a warning, and they should have listened